I found that I tend to gravitate towards colors from the Gulf. I grew up on the Florida Gulf Coast, and I tend to gravitate toward those colors, particularly in fused glass, because I can pick the colors and then put them in the kiln, and then when they fuse together, it's I don't know, it's a very calming. It looks like the Gulf Coast. It looks like the water. I love that. I love that, and I do use that a lot. I have people ask me to make pieces with those colors, people that have beach homes and things like that. I do a lot of those, and I have to make myself go there because that's where I just naturally go. Those are my colors I go to. I think that you could have it in museums. We have it in our museum in downtown, but you could even put it in a bathroom. This is the in lieu of shades for this particular bathroom, and I love it. I love it everywhere, and I love to put it in homes. I love to make usable glass. I like to make it's part of life. I love it. So no, I don't think it's that precarious. Glass manufacturers make the different colors, and then we as artists go into these huge warehouses and make selections of the glass. And I picked each of these colors by walking up and down this huge, huge place in Atlanta. This was one of my favorite glasses ever. I've used it before. It's got gold in it to make all the red color and the rainbow colors in the same piece. And the manufacturers also make the glass with the textures. So it's color variations, it's texture variations, it's the mixing of the colors and the textures to create the movement in the glass. And I love it. It's fascinating. So I take the pattern pieces and I lay them on the glass, and I borrow my grandchildren's glue stick, and I glue it on the back, put it down, and I cut the glass to the size of the pattern piece that I have, and then I'll lay the glass out like a puzzle. And the way that I cut it, this is a piece of scrap glass I will cut. This has a line on it where that's the shape of the curve I wanted. So I'll take my cutter and cut along that line carefully. And take my little clippers. There we go. This is it's a diamond tip roller kind, and you can get this kind of a pistol grip like this, or you can get a kind that's actually like a pencil, and you hold it like this and you cut. This is just easier for me because I can get a lot more pressure. And I cut each piece and lay them in here, and if there's a little edge that's got a weird piece, I take it in there and I use a grinder and smooth it off. And put it together. As the pieces are all done, I wrap my pieces in copper foil, a little thin strip of copper foil around the border of each piece, so it'll look like it's got a copper color frame. Then I lay each piece wrapped in copper foil down here, and I take my soldering iron and solder them all together. On bigger pieces, I actually reinforce them with a wire, a tin-wrapped wire, or either a woven tinned braid that'll go between the pieces, because glass will kind of do this. It'll move in the panel, and I will frame each piece out with a thick of zinc to give it sturdy. These are going to be dining room doors or pantry doors. I'm not sure what they're going to be. So there's a lot of this. And I wouldn't want the glass to vibrate and crack, so I'll reinforce it with something. These are just, this piece, this is just my framing so that I'm sure that as I build this, I keep within the dimensions that the builder gave me. So my glass will fit inside of this. Then the frame that I build, I take all that off. When the glass is soldered together, I take all that off, and I take a piece of zinc. I don't have any out here. It's actually shaped like a U, and the glass fits in it like that. And I cut it like a frame with mitered corners and everything, so it'll have a flat zinc frame that'll fit inside the cabinet doors and have molding around it. You never see it. This is a piece. I don't want to take any of it up. It's a piece of glass. It's a piece of metal like this. It has holes. Yes, and it's got holes in it. So when I get my pattern laid out here, you can see the. Can you see the pencil marks on here? Mm-hmm. I get my frame to the edge just exactly, and I'll use measuring tape. I'll make sure that's the right length, that's the right length, that's the right width, and then I'll do it diagonal measures to make sure that it's square. And then I check and recheck and check and recheck and check and recheck the builder's measurements because I don't want to make it and then have it not fit. So these two are the same size and these two are the same size. And this is all going to be clear glass. It's kind of weird how clear glass is becoming a thing now. A lot of clear glass, a lot of textures, but it's clear. And I use the textures to create the movement in the glass. It isn't like red glass or blue glass or anything like that. It's all clear. And I use the textures to, well, this is a saw. This is a ring saw that you can cut. You can cut any direction. You can cut forward, backward. It's called tack fuse. You can still feel it. You can. It's not all one piece. You can feel
right there and let me...
This is with frit, and you tack fuse it. So you can still, I can feel the bumps. I feel the bumps of the red. I feel the bumps of the frit. It's got texture to it. As opposed to this, that also had frit and pieces, but when I fused it, I made it like a solid piece, so that's smooth. There are no bumps. It all went to one piece because I got it hotter. This is, I went to Agnes Scott, so this is my, So this is a sushi dish. Well, I'm going to show you this light table. My son built this for me because whenever I build something, I'm having to run outside and hold it up and come back in and run outside and hold it up and see the color. So he made this light table for me. And this is what I was talking about. It's got this light strip around it. Let me move this. It's got a light strip around it and all the silver inside. So I can lay a piece down here and I can see it's backlit really well. And this is kind of what a backlit box would be for a stained glass, except see he put these pegs in here because he knows I'm laying heavy glass on here. Some people ask me if there is a connection between my biology degree from Agnes Scott and my art. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it before, but I think so, that when I look out at nature, I see the shapes, I see the muscle forms, I see the way the motion is. I guess I must do that. I know that when I've done people, I tend to want to get the muscle shape of them in my art. So yeah, I do. I blend the two. And oftentimes when I'm doing shapes and stuff, it's like any artist. I think you can get so used to looking at what you're doing, you can't see your own mistakes, and you take it and you turn it upside down to see the shapes better. On this particular one, I actually showed it to two other artists, and I said, I'm drawing this deer. I want it to look like a real deer. I don't want it to look like a cartoon. And it was small at that time, and one of my friends came in and she said, if you'll notice, there's a shadow under the deer's eye right there. And I went, oh, I haven't seen that. But as soon as I put it in there, it made a lot of difference. And that's such a small thing. And there's actually a strip right here in his nose where it's got a lighter piece of glass. Like when you're looking at an animal or something, often their nose has a shiny spot where the sun's reflecting or the light's reflecting off of it. So once, it's not enough backlight right now, but there is a light spot right there. So, yeah. This is a piece that I did, that I drew. A friend of mine who was a nature photographer gave me a picture of a heron that he had taken out somewhere. And I took it and I blew it up. And so the heron is actually from his photograph. But the rest of it I drew around the bird that he gave me and made the design, made the pattern. Went and selected the glass to make I call it painting with glass because I can't actually change the glass color. The glass color is what it is. But see, like the reeds, I got a dark olivey green, but it's got the texture behind it, so it looks like a leaf. And the cattails look like cattails. And this is the sky kind of in the evening and the moon, so that the moon actually glows. So I guess I'd call it painting with glass. I hand selected this to look like water where he's standing. And then the pattern of the glass that I cut, rather than just make a sheet of blue down there, I actually cut and leaded the glass in that shape so it looks like the motion of water under his feet. And then this is just the marshy background behind him. And this is kind of the stuff I like to do. I did this piece for me. But if somebody came to me and said, I have this idea. I love herons, and I just got to have a heron in my house. I would not do this one, but I would draw I would draw. I'd probably do research on herons and what they look like and what their colors are and all that and where they live. And then I'd start sketching. I would just sketch small and say, "Is this what do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And once they really liked my idea, I would blow it up to whatever size they're thinking. And from that point, I would go to Atlanta, or I'd like to go up to Maryland and Wisconsin, all those places, but I have to get online. But I talk to the people and I hand select each color glass I'm going to use. And if I get a piece of glass like this blue glass, and it's this big, it comes in a sheet, but I know I want it lighter under his feet, I'll hold it up and I'll go, okay, I need the piece under his feet to come from right here. Wow. And I'll cut that out for that. And I need to be sure that I get all the texture of the leaves going kind of up and down. And I'll turn my pattern to be sure that I have all the patterns running that way. And cut, and sometimes I break pieces, and then I got to start over, and then sometimes I try to cut it again and I break pieces, and then I know it's time to go inside, eat some lunch, and start over on that piece. So, but for me, once I start cutting and it's down on the table, there's no light behind it. And so I'm going on what I envision, and I've already selected the pieces, I've held them up to the light, I've drawn, I just have to trust that the process is where it needs to be. And I put it together, and every single time when I get to the end and I pick the piece up and the light gets behind it, every single time I go, wow. Every time, because I don't really know what it's going to look like until the light's finally behind it. So this is actually a bowl that I made. It's in the shape of a sink. I used one of the sink bowls, and I just used it as a bowl because I loved how it looks, and I didn't ever put the stopper hole in it. But people ask if glass can be usable, and I say yes. I can use this for anything. It's actually very heavy. But yes, I think glass is usable. It ought to be used. These are actually the size of a charger. I was looking for something to put up here, and a friend of mine said, "You know what? That would look good with a big round charger. Let's go look for some." And I went, "I can make that." So I did. I took 2 pieces of glass. It's black, and on this side it's iridized, and I cut it out. I had a pattern made, and I cut it out and sandblasted away the irid glass where I didn't want it. And then if you see it in the light, you can see, can you see the gold? Yeah. See the gold as it changes? And even at night when we have different lighting in here, sometimes these look really, really gold. And this is a piece I made. It was very different. I actually took a class. I'd never done this before. And this is painting with frit. And frit is just finely ground up glass. And you pick colors and you build a form. And then you build your picture from the back because you're building it up. And the picture is going to be viewed from underneath. So this is a sunset with the hummingbird in it and the marsh grass that I made by painting with little glass chips and just piling the glass up and piling the glass up and piling the glass up. And then it's fused into one solid piece. And the picture's made by the different colors of glass that I used just to make that design. I have artists in my family who paint, and typically you take a piece of painted art and hang it on the wall. And you could hang stained glass on the wall. It would give you the look. You can see that's a fish, and you can see that that's water. But glass, in order to be alive and show the movement, you've got to have it backlit somehow. And so I help my clients find a place to hang it, or even build a light box behind it. But if I take this piece off the wall and move it to the window, once you put the light behind it, you can see the motion. You can almost see the fish scales, you can see the ripples in the water, you can see his eye, you can see inside his mouth. I mean, it just makes the piece alive. And that's the difference between painted art and glass art, is